Hey guys, it's Rider again. I figured since it's a week or so before States, I would make another Magic video. This is the deck I'm going to be running at States at Pastimes. If you're in the Illinois area, look for a chubby guy wearing a red shirt with Nintendo Rehabilitation Clinic written on it. That's going to be me. My problem for running the deck at States came up when my ride to States has to be playing my Fairies deck, since he doesn't usually play Standard, but he wants to go to a big-time tournament. And since I only have 4 Bitter Blossoms, I had to figure out a way to make Torrent.dec run without Bitter Blossom. And I figured the way to do that was by adding white. Aside from the white editions, it's pretty typical for a Torrent deck. You have a removal suite, you have token making, and you have win conditions. We're going to start with the creatures for now, and the creature making. You got 2 sides to your creatures normally. The Persist engine, which for this deck, all I have for Persist is Murderous Redcap and Kitchen Finks. Solid cards. I got 3 Redcaps because I can't find my 4th one, and 4 Finks. We have 3 copies of Sprouting Thrinax. I need to find a 4th one very quickly, but in place of that 4th one, I am at present running Siege Gang Commander. With all the goblins that this deck makes, with Goblin Assault, Marsh Flitter, and even Siege Gang himself, it's just so good that how can you not? I've actually been thinking about cutting my Marsh Flitters or something else to play. Even I could cut Murderous Redcap or something to play 4 copies of Siege Gang Commander. I think that'd be fantastic for this deck. Gilt-Leaf Ambush I left in here because I'm pretty happy with how it's been playing. The reason why I had it in here before is I was running that and Elvish Visionary and some other cards so I could play Gilt-Leaf Palace for mana fixing. We have 4 copies of Goblin Assault. The Heat Shimmers at present are proxies. I should be able to get 2 more Goblin Assaults before States. I just don't know how much it's going to cost me, but I'll be able to get them. The goblins attacking each turn if able is actually kind of useful against red deck wins. Dragon Fodder is just 2 mana for 2 tokens. Moving on to the removal suite, it's pretty simple. I went into white because you'll see why. Mainly the Spectral Processions, which make... It's 3 mana, although I'm going to be playing it for 4 most of the time in this deck because it's 4 colors. It's 3 flying dudes. It's basically my replacement for Bitter Blossom. The removal suite is just Murderous Redcap, we already mentioned. Siege Gang Commander is kind of removal, but the main removal in this deck is 4 Oblivion Rings and 3 Naya Charms. If you're in white, there's no reason not to play 4 Oblivion Rings. It's the best removal in Standard. 3 mana to deal with anything but a land. Very useful in the mirror and against fairies for getting rid of their Bitter Blossoms. Naya Charm can get back something that I had to discard before, or Kitchen Finks that's already persisted if I need more life, or just about anything in this deck. It functions as a removal spell, and it serves as kind of a falter. Because you can go, I have attained critical mass, I tap all your dudes, and swing with 1 billion tokens. Speaking of win conditions, the deck usually has 6 to 8 cards that it just says, if this resolves, oops, I just won the game. Torrent of Souls I am running it as a 2 of in here. It's the namesake card. You get a dude back. Pretty much what the card says is get a Murderous Redcap back, deal 4 damage to one of your creatures or one of your blockers rather, and then just swing with everything. Furystoke Giant generally says if I resolve, I win the game. Because it just says all your creatures tap to shock. So all you need usually is 5 or 6 other dudes, and you can just knock them out of the game. Reminds me of the Storm decks from Time Spiral. And this is kind of an odd choice. I have 2 copies of Titanic Ultimatum in here. You'll see why once I get to the mana base, because I'm actually running hideaways in this deck. The mana base isn't really that complicated. In a 4-color deck, reflecting pools are kind of necessary. I wish I had more. The only thing that concerns me about regarding the mana base is the number comes into play tap lands. I have 2 Jungle Shrines, 3 Savage Lands, and 4 Hideaways. 2 Windbrisks and 2 Mossworts. The Mossworts, surprisingly, aren't that hard to activate in this deck, because all you need is like a Kitchen Finks and a lot of tokens. If I can get 2 more Windbrisk, I'll be playing Windbrisk instead of Mosswort, but Mosswort's not too hard to activate either. If I wanted to rely more on Mosswort, I could toss like a Gilt-Leaf Legion here or something that pumps most of my creatures. Balefire Liege, or just any of the red or green lieges. Probably Boartusk Liege would be the best one for this deck. Battlefield Forge. Basically the rest of this is just filters, pain lands, and even 3 mountains. But I'm going to be getting another Llanowar Wastes and 2 more Karplusan Forests for this deck. Moving on to the sideboard, I have done some pretty crazy things with it. I originally had Vexing Shusher as 2 main, 2 side, but I had to cut it for some more token production when I realized I didn't have enough of it. Naturalizes are just more artifact or enchantment removal for the mirror and for fairies, because Bitter Blossom is a big problem for this deck. Blightning is a card that I have seen a lot of in sideboards. It's 3 damage to fairies or Quicken Toast or Cruel Control, and you pitch 2 cards. It's damage and card advantage and 1 card at a reasonable price. My oddball sideboard pick is Mirrorweave. I tried to work this into the main deck, but it just wouldn't fit right. It's good against almost every single deck in the meta right now. Pretty much what you do is when they tap out to play their finisher, like when red taps out to play Demigod of Revenge, you take 5 or you block with a fairy token, or block with a fairy token, do something about it, or even just take the 5, and then you Mirrorweave and just go off. Against all the tribal decks like fairies, elves, Merfolk, because Merfolk is being played anymore, what you can do against them is you can run, you can board in your Mirrorweaves, and then Mirrorweave their Lord. Mirrorweave their Lord before damage, and that's usually enough damage to kill him, since you'll typically be attacking with 6, 7, 8 or more creatures. And you bring in Mirrorweaves, and even if they block a few of them, it's enough damage to get through, since your creatures are going to be at least 7/7s. I've had a lot of fun building and playing this deck, and I hope to see some of you at States. I will see you later.